Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better.
Whole, capable, and perfect, just as is. What comes to mind when I say those words out loud? Whole, capable, and perfect as is. That might sound pretty foreign to most of us because in medicine, we are not taught to think of other humans as being whole, capable, or perfect just as they are. In fact, we are trained specifically to look for ways in which they are not whole, not capable, perfect, we'll put aside for now. Today, we're going to be talking about this idea of believing that people are whole, capable, and perfect, and we're going to dive in. This comes from probably many different coaching traditions. The words might be slightly different, but I'm curious, what opens up for you if we were to dare to believe of ourselves and perhaps other people as whole, capable, and perfect? Let's find out. So let's begin with thinking of ourselves as whole, capable, and perfect, and think about what would shift in our lives if we believed that was true. Now, that might feel very far off from where you are, but the reason that we use this as coaches, or there might be other disciplines that use this framework, is that if I'm sitting across from you and I see you as whole, capable, and perfect, and you're coming to me with a challenge, an obstacle, something that you want that you haven't been able to get, if I truly believe of you as being whole, capable, and perfect as you are, then it becomes so much easier for me to help you overcome obstacles, to be able to see where you're getting stuck, right? And to believe in you until you start to believe in yourself. This framework is incredibly powerful, and it allows the coach to sit in a place of certainty and calm, and again, really see the person in front of them as being whole, despite whatever challenges they're going through, right? They are capable of navigating the challenges, of getting what they want, and they're perfect just as they are, just because. If you believed that about yourself, I'm curious, what would be different? How would the decisions that you make day in and day out be different? I wonder where you're treating yourselves as not this way, right? Where you're treating yourself as a problem, as a fixer-upper, right? There's something wrong with me. I'm broken. How many of us carry that language with us? And imagine flipping that. Imagine you could know with 100% certainty that you were whole, capable, and perfect. The way that you would show up in your days would be different, even, and perhaps especially, working in a broken healthcare system that is under-resourced, perversely funded through the for-profit industry, right, that is healthcare insurance. If we could see ourselves as being highly capable, being fantastic problem solvers, people who are able to navigate uncertainty, to navigate difficulty, and with the exact right skills to handle what's going on and to take care of ourselves, right? The way that we show up and operate in that broken healthcare system is very different than if we see ourselves as we are the problem. If only we were smarter, if only we were faster, more efficient, if only we were nicer, right? Then all the problems wouldn't be there. It's very powerful to see yourself as being highly skilled, as being thoughtful and resourceful, but having imperfect tools, having resources that are below what you would need, but still seeing yourself as somebody who is excellent. When we start to change the way that we think about ourselves, when we start to believe that we are, again, capable, that we are worthy, that we are brilliant and creative human beings, the things we're able to do end up being quite different. We end up being better with boundaries. We end up making better decisions for ourselves and probably for our patients as well. And so I invite you to think about this. And we're going to talk about where it might show up in a few different areas. But to start to invite this idea into your life, because again, for most of us, we are used to navigating the world from a place of, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I still have so much to learn. And I think that has probably only gotten worse with such a vast array of not only medical information, right, but just information that is available to us all the time. We have never been inundated with nearly as much medical information, journals, CME, conferences you could go to, people that you could learn from. We've never been thus so connected to our patients, right? And so connected, right? Depending on what kind of system setup you have, you may be getting text messages from the radiology tech who has your patient for an x-ray that you ordered 3 weeks ago, but there's something wrong with the order and the patient is now there and they're texting you through the instant messenger, whatever it's called within Epic, right, to correct the order, but you're in the middle of doing a pap smear on someone, right? That kind of a connection, not very helpful. But let's just acknowledge that with all of this information, with all of this connectivity, we are very easily left with the idea that we are the problem, that we are not responsive enough, that we are not smart enough, that we are not fast enough. And that is not serving us. It is particularly not serving us working in a big healthcare system, which, helps to sort of fund itself by the people in it thinking that they are not doing enough. All right, let's take this into another example or another place in your life where you might find this helpful. I want us to think about what it could do for our visits with our patients if we also took that information, took that knowledge, that certainty, that the person in front of us is whole, capable, and perfect. We are going to make a huge caveat here. We are going to set aside vulnerable adults. We're going to set aside vulnerable minors and seniors, right? People who, for many different reasons, may not yet be perfectly capable. We are going to think about our average patient who has, let's say, at least a high school education, who has some means, who has some ability to access healthcare, right? Our average human being. And perhaps this is someone that you've had a difficult relationship with. Perhaps you've seen them many times. Perhaps you've only seen them once, or they're brand new to you, but something in the dynamic is really going the wrong way. It's so easy, again, for many reasons, for us to sit in this space of there's something really wrong with them. Again, not necessarily their health concern, but there's something wrong with their personality. They're difficult. They're awful people. They're non-compliant. They don't do anything I say. We can get into this train, right, of just thinking that they don't know what to do. And I don't know why they're here because they're not listening to me. That sets up a very toxic dynamic. And especially, I think if you work in outpatient medicine where you tend to see people over and over again, right, it can create some really heavy days. If we, again, use this idea and start to flip the narrative and see the person in front of us as being whole, capable, and perfect just as they are, and we're holding that belief of ourselves as well, we can look at the situation differently and perhaps feel differently about what happens in that visit. If I'm upset because the person in front of me has not followed through with the plan, they didn't start the medication that we talked about, they didn't make this particular change, they didn't schedule the appointment after we had sent the referral, and maybe we had to send it 4 times and make phone calls, and they still didn't schedule the appointment. If I am either taking that on myself and thinking that I didn't do enough, right? That hurts me. If I am blaming them and just angry at them and thinking, how dare they? Because we talked about this. This was the plan. This is the solution, right? Then I'm getting into a whole different energy where I'm mad and frustrated and I'm taking it as a personal affront. That's also not helping me. If I can look at the situation from the more neutral stance that this human in front of me is capable of making their own decisions, that ultimately they are the ones who are responsible for what they do and do not do, that my job is to be here to be a consultant, to be an advocate for their health, and to let them know that I'm here to answer questions, right, within boundaries, within reason, that they get to make the choice. I am letting go of the emotional toll and responsibility of thinking that I need to fix them, right? Of thinking that I need to convince them. Because there are so many instances where patients do not or cannot or choose not to follow through. It doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with the plan. It could certainly be a learning moment for me. Perhaps I, in my capability, right, can choose to work on checking and adjusting with the patient, asking if they have concerns as we make the plan. Sure, we could do the motivational interviewing. What do you imagine would get in the way, right? We can check for buy-in. But ultimately, I might have done all of that, and still the patient made their own choice. And not following through with something is a choice, right? Not putting that thing, whatever that is, taking a medication, calling to schedule a referral to a specialist, ultimately not choosing to do that is a choice, right? Because they have not chosen to make it a priority. I'm not suggesting that there aren't consequences, but what I am suggesting is that if I can step back from the need for them to follow through with my plan, if I can see them as being capable of making decisions and weighing their own priorities, right, then I have decreased the tension and I can come to that visit with a much cleaner stance. We are all humans. We will all have feelings, right? And we will all have relationships, some of which work better and some of which are more difficult. But this can be a really powerful tool where you start to see the other human as being fully capable of making their own decisions, of making their own priorities, and letting go of this feeling that you have failed, that you haven't done enough. Again, we will make some carve-outs for people who are not capable of having that level of responsibility, but most likely you are working with a sizable number of people who are capable, who are whole, right? And can choose their own priorities. You might not agree with them. You might not like the decisions they make. You may be afraid of the consequences that they're going to face. But ultimately, we do not follow our patients home. We do not put the medications right in their mouth, right? We do not sit and hold their hands as they call the specialist. We do not drive them to their appointments. If we choose to see them as capable, functional people, we will let go of some of the emotional toil that we carry. Let's look at another area where we might use this tool. So, what happens if you believe that other people around you are whole, capable, and perfect? We've taken care of ourselves. We've taken care of our patients, right? We're choosing to bring that idea into our lives in that way. What about staff? What about colleagues that we work with? What about families and partners and friends? What happens when you start to see the people in your life as being whole, capable, and perfect just as they are? For these other relationships, I'll tell you what happens is that if we see them, we see the things that they do, the things they decide, the things that they have and don't have, the ways that they spend their money, the ways that they spend their time. We observe that. And we see them as being whole, capable, and perfect as they are. Then it becomes our responsibility to decide, how do I interact with them, knowing that this is them doing the best that they can with what they have and where they are, and this is how they're showing up. I then get to decide what is right for me, knowing that this person is showing up in this way. This allows us to let go of the responsibility of fixing them or carrying them. If I don't see them as broken, if I see them as making decisions, and again, maybe decisions I don't agree with, maybe decisions that don't resonate with me, making other choices, but capable of doing so, right? Making decisions that are right for them. Maybe they're right for them right now, and maybe I worry about how that decision is going to land later, right? Because we think far ahead, right, in medicine. But I let go of this idea that, again, I need to fix them or I need to carry them. If they're choosing to show up to work late, if they are choosing to go into debt, or, well, not choosing to go into debt, but choosing to spend more money than they have, perhaps, right? But again, they're whole people. They are capable. They are, we'll consider them rational. Again, they might be making decisions differently than I would, but they're adults. I can decide how I'm going to interact with them. I can decide, well, okay, maybe I don't volunteer to switch shifts with them. Maybe I don't give them tasks that are not going to be completed, and I decide how those things are going to be done. Or, maybe I do give them tasks to be completed. I sort of expect that they won't be completed, right? And then I'm going to document or report that if, that's the kind of relationship that we're in, if we're in a work relationship. If people in my life that I love and care about are not meeting expectations, right? They're not doing things that I think that they should be doing, but it's not actually my job to fix that for them, right? My friend who is chronically late, right? She's whole, capable, and perfect. I know that. I know that she's frequently late. I don't have to fix that. But I also can start to set some boundaries and say, hey, the movie starts at 3:00. If I don't see you, I'm going to be in my seat. I'm going to be watching the movie. I hope you can make it, right? That's me taking care of me. That's saying what I'm going to do. It's not judging or blaming her. It's just letting her know that I want to be on time. I want to catch the start of the movie. I don't owe her anything. Using this tool, this idea, right, that we can see ourselves as whole, capable, and perfect, and we can see other people this way, allows us to operate differently in the world. It can, like I said, help us set some healthy boundaries. It can let us look at how we're treating ourselves and decide what we need to do differently in order to sort of stand behind that knowledge that I'm whole, capable, and perfect. Does that mean that every choice I make is correct? Nope. Does it mean I won't make mistakes? Not at all. What it means is that I'm someone who can learn. It means that I'm someone who is always growing. It means that I trust myself, that I have my own back. If I look at my patients as being whole, capable, and perfect, then I'm trusting them to make the right decision for them. Again, it is my job to inform. It is my job to help diagnose, help offer a treatment plan, but I am not responsible for whether or not they choose to be on board with that, right? I can control my parts, and I will trust them to control their parts. When we use this tool, again, it allows us so much more emotional bandwidth to be able to navigate life because I'm no longer distraught by other people's decisions. I trust that there's nothing wrong with me, but that I work in a difficult system doing a difficult job. I don't have to fix or carry people who are not meeting my expectations, but I can start to communicate more clearly. Do you see how this can help open this up? And we don't have to prove it's true either. We don't have to prove that we're whole, capable, and perfect. We're talking about a mental adjustment to see what can happen, what can change, what can improve if I choose to see the world this way. So here's the challenge that I want to bring to you. I would like for you to spend 1 week believing that you are whole, capable, and perfect, and practicing that other people are whole, capable, and perfect too. Just a week. You might set yourself some kind of little reminder in the morning. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm whole, capable, and perfect. All right. If I'm whole, capable, and perfect, what do I want to do here? If I'm whole, capable, and perfect, how do I want to spend my day? If I'm whole, capable, and perfect, okay, that means that at lunchtime, right, I make sure that I step away from my computer, that I go and I stretch and I take some deep breaths outside and I eat some lunch, right? Because me being whole, capable, and perfect means that I fuel myself, that I care about my well-being, right? Me being whole, capable, and perfect decides that I'm feeling really tired today. And so it's really important that I leave on time and get myself to bed. You can see how this can help to reframe decisions that you make for yourself, interactions that you have with other people, and again, healthy boundaries that you set, including with people that you love and care about. Spend a week deciding that you're going to try this on. Sometimes when we're trying on a new idea, we can imagine like we're trying on a new coat. We're not buying the coat. We're not marrying the coat. We're just trying it on. How does it feel? How does it look? How does it feel when I go outside in the cold and I'm wearing this coat, right? Does it suit me? Does it feel good? Try on this idea. Decide if it fits you. Decide if it feels good. Decide and notice, what does it change when you show up believing whole, capable, perfect? This is one to play around with. I think it can be really helpful. It can be kind of fun. And I'm curious to know where you end up using it. My friends, that's what we have for this week. If you would like to spend more time exploring how you are whole, capable, and perfect, if you would like some help bringing more of this into your life, I want you to head to the show notes, sign up for a call with me. We will sit down and we will talk, and we will talk specifically about how I can support you doing this work. Because when we are able to change the way that we think, when we are able to bring more self-trust, more self-kindness, and better boundaries into our lives, we are capable of so much, even if we are working in a broken healthcare system, even if we are a human navigating the difficulties of this world, it really can be quite powerful, and I'd love to help support you. So you can head to my website, which is www.healthierforgood.com, schedule a call with me, or again, the link will be in the show notes. I can't wait to see you. And until next time, take care.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.